Scaling up your test cases efficiently usually involves the practice of parameterization. That is the concept of having one test case and then feeding in parameter values to create variations of the test case. So essentially you have the same test case which you execute repeatedly with different data values. Now, defining parameters in Quality Center is done at the test step level. So within the test plan we define a test case, and then within the test design steps we can add parameters to the individual steps. Those parameters are then defined on the parameters grid, where we might set default values or provide some description values. So in this session what we're going to look at is actually defining test cases with parameters, adding those test cases to a test set and specifying the default parameter values, and then running the test set specifying parameters. So in the example we have here for the user login test case, under the design steps we can see already an example of parameters, and that username parameter is included on the parameter grid. If we add another parameter, for example password, to the parameter grid and maybe specify a default value for that parameter, that parameter then becomes available under our design steps. So if we edit or add test steps, we can put and password. When we come back to the parameters now, you'll see this useful column here which says whether or not the parameter in the grid has actually been used in the test design steps. So once we have a test case with steps that have been parameterized, we can use that test case within a test set. So under the test lab test sets area we have a login tests test set, and I can pull in test cases from the test plan area. Now notice when I pull in this user login test case, which has been parameterized, Quality Center asks me if I want to use the default values as part of adding that test case to the set. We'll use the default values and click OK. So we now have a test set which, when we run it, will pick up the default values we specified for the parameters in the test plan. So if we run this test case within the test set, what we should see when we begin the run is that we've picked up the default parameter values, and we can pass that test step and in the test run in this instance. So notice in that example we weren't prompted to enter the parameter values at runtime. If, however, we look at the test instant details, we can see under the execution settings the values that we're going to use at runtime. So the actual values are specified here, and that's because we copied the default values. If we clear these values, what we should see at runtime when we execute the test within the test set is that Quality Center prompts us to enter some values, or again copy the default values, and we can enter new parameter values in there. And a new username, and for this run instance then we'll pick up these new parameter values, so Fred, actual results, new pass, etc. So as with many other test management tools then, there's a couple of key concepts and points to be aware of here. Firstly, parameters are defined within the test case itself. The set of parameters defined for the test case have a one-to-one relationship. That is, one set of parameters only belongs to that specific test case. Having said that, you can call template test cases from other test cases, thus utilizing the parameters of the template test case. Secondly, the parameters for a test case can be defined both when the test is included in the test set and when the test is executed. And you can define the parameters at runtime when you can execute the test case so long as the default values in the test instant details under the execution settings are clear. So the ability to use parameters within Quality Center is a powerful test management feature. It carries with it some complexities that you need to be careful with, for example when you call a test with parameters, but these complexities far outweigh the benefits of being able to scale up your test repository and your test sets efficiently and effectively.